What's up people, Jean Carlos here with Total Body Training, where I help you get lean, gain muscle, and build confidence. And this is Fit Tips episode number 17. And today's Fit Tip is how to improve your fitness goals with grit. During the 1970s, a psychologist named Walter Mischel came up with a study that is now called the Marshmallow Study. And essentially the study went like this. A psychologist would sit in a room with one child who was about 4 or 5 years old, and they would place a marshmallow on a plate in front of the child and just simply tell them, I'm going to leave the room in just a few seconds, and you can totally eat this marshmallow the moment I leave the room, or if when I come back in just a few minutes, if it's still there, I will give you a second marshmallow. So you can have 2 marshmallows. And the psychologist did exactly that. The psychologist would get up and leave the room for just a few minutes. Now, some of the kids went right for the marshmallow right away. There's video, they've redone this study, and there's video that I watched of these kids just snatch the marshmallow up and start eating it with the psychologist right in the room. Now other kids kind of waited, so they kind of contemplated whether or not they were going to eat it. So you can even watch some kids taking the marshmallow, playing with it, getting really close to it, even talking about the way the marshmallow smells, licking it, trying to take little bites or residue of the marshmallow. And the majority of the kids didn't do so hot. Most of them ate it while the therapist was gone, the psychologist was gone. But there were a few, just a small amount of kids, who were able to hang on and wait to get that second marshmallow when the psychologist came back. They went on to track the lives of each one of those children. The kids who had taken the marshmallow right away and the kids who had waited for the second marshmallow. And they found something really interesting out. They found out that the child who waited longer, who waited for the second marshmallow, was more likely to go through his adolescence doing better in school, having better relationships with other students, with their family. They went on to grow up to have better interpersonal relationships with their families, less chances of divorce, also have more fulfilling careers, were more likely to go to college, just a whole host of things including better health and also being in better shape. The difference between the kids who didn't wait to get the second marshmallow and the kids who did wait for the second marshmallow is that those kids had something called willpower, and Angela Duckworth expands on this idea with something called grit. Grit is passion and perseverance for very long-term goals. I posted a link down in the description section of this video to Angela Duckworth's TED Talk and her book. It's really, really good information, so I strongly suggest that you go and check it out. If you're the kind of person who keeps dropping your fitness goals and failing, then really what you have is a problem of willpower or grit. But the good news is that there are a lot of ways that you can build up your grit. In this video, I'm going to talk about how you can build up grit with regards to your fitness goals. And really, I'm just basing this off of observations that I've made of my clients here at Total Body Training and ways that I've read about that can improve your personal grit and ways that also improved my grit when I was struggling with getting in shape. One place that people tend to drop the ball the most often with their fitness goals is at work. So let me put it this way. Cheryl shows up with 3 dozen Krispy Kreme sprinkled donuts that are delicious and tasty at your office, and she puts them in the faculty room and everybody starts eating those. And you hadn't planned for this, and you feel like eating one. What do? How do you avoid eating that donut? Here are 2 ways you can avoid eating those donuts. First, pretend the donuts ain't there. When the psychologist asked the kids what they did to avoid eating that first donut or avoid eating that first marshmallow, the kids literally said that they pretended that the donuts weren't there. So you can watch videos of the kids covering up their head and pretending that the food isn't there. Now, I'm not telling you to cover up your head at your desk because that might be a little bit weird and people might think that you're depressed. Watch my video about depression if that's an issue. But you can find that in the descriptions. But what I am suggesting is to get the hell away from that food so that you can avoid it. So that means if the donuts are in the faculty lounge, maybe don't take your lunch break in the faculty lounge. Maybe take it at your desk, or go for a walk and sit outside and eat there, or go somewhere else. Just avoid going there until those donuts are gone. I promise you, if it's a sweet, tasty pastry, it'll be gone fast. Second, Always have food with you and never be hungry. The moment that you start feeling like eating those donuts, chances are you might also just be hungry. So have food with you. I recommend having 5 small meals with you throughout that day that you actually eat, and eat one of those meals instead of going for that food. Because if you fill yourself up properly, you won't be all that hungry. You won't want that food quite as much as if you were hungry. The more you do this, the more you're practicing grit. The more you're practicing staying away from unhealthy food and staying on track with your nutrition, and I promise you it will get easier. You can apply the same process to your weekend, and that's the second area I want to talk about. Weekends tend to be a big place where people tend to drop the ball with their fitness goals. So, and it's for a good reason. People are out socializing, they're having fun, they're having a good time, and they tend to lose track of what they were doing. So let's say that it wasn't a struggle for you to avoid those donuts during the week, and you worked out hard and you ate well for 5 days, but come Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, you completely drop your diet and you just eat everything in sight and drink everything. Well, then you're really setting yourself back. So how can we apply the same principles to your weekend? Weekend tip number 1. Pre-plan what you're gonna eat before you even go to the restaurant. So, if you're going out, chances are you already know what restaurant you're gonna go to. So take a few seconds to Google the restaurant and look at the menu and pick something healthy out before you even arrive there. Hey, and when you get there, order that as soon as possible so that you don't get distracted by any other decisions. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Well, why would I have to look up the restaurant? And why would I have to look up the menu? Why can't I just wait till I get there? Isn't that too much work? No, it's not. You can look it up really quickly. It takes a few seconds when you're looking up the directions to the place or whatever. And by picking what you're gonna do, by pre-planning what you're gonna do, studies show that you will be more likely to stick to eating what it is that you decide to get in advance because you have a plan. So pre-plan what you're gonna get in advance before you arrive at the restaurant. Let's say after dinner, you go out with your friends to a bar and you wanna socialize and have a good time, but you don't wanna drink, but you also don't wanna stand there awkwardly without a drink in your hand. What do you do then? Well, this is my second tip for having fun on the weekends and maintaining your diet, which is order a diet soda with no alcohol, or order some sparkling water with lime. And I would strongly recommend, this is a sub tip, that you order this in privacy so that your friends don't hear that you're getting a drink without alcohol, because if they know that you ain't down to party like that, they will more than likely peer pressure you or try to peer pressure you into getting drunk and drinking, and that's just gonna set you back. So order that on the side, and don't make it an announcement. Don't tell the world that you aren't drinking that day. If your friends figure out that you're not drinking, then they're gonna start to ask you questions because they're used to seeing you party and drink and eat unhealthy food. They're gonna ask you, why aren't you drinking? What you do not want to do, I strongly suggest you not do, is complain. Because here's the thing, if you start off that night and they start wondering why you're not drinking, you start saying, oh, I'm on this tough diet that my John Carlos put me on, or this plan that I have to be on where I can't drink and blah, 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 blah. Well, they're going to feel bad and they're going to peer pressure you, start to push you into drinking anyways. They're just going to be like, oh, it's okay. You can just have one, right? You can have one gin and tonic or something like that, or skinny drink, or just some wine, right? It's not gonna hurt you, it's not gonna affect you, but it is. So I would strongly recommend staying away from complaining, and instead what I would recommend doing is, if they ask you why aren't you drinking and continue to peer pressure you, just be like, no, I'm good. So that's my third tip. Just say, nah, I'm good. The less you say, the better, because they're gonna keep pressuring you, but don't budge for it, or don't act like you're affected. If they ask you again, just be like, no, really, I appreciate it, but I'm good. I'm just gonna drink this for tonight. And leave it at that. Don't say much else. Leave them to kind of wonder what's going on, and the less likely they are to push you. But if they're feeling really, really pushy and they really wanna peer pressure you, just ignore them. Like literally don't respond or don't give to them, because if you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. They will push more and more to try to get you to go. Just ignore them and pretend that it isn't happening, and eventually they will stop after they're having their fun and they're drinking on their own. Now, if they don't stop, they sound annoying, to be frank with you, or you might start to feel like you're being a little bit annoyed with their behavior. So that's just something to think about. Chances are that deep down, you really do want that drink, right? But in the process of turning down drinks and turning down unhealthy food, you're learning to develop grit. You're learning to stick to your goals. You are learning to wait for that second marshmallow. And that second marshmallow is your fitness goal. And the sense of accomplishment and pride and happiness that you're gonna have when you achieve those goals and when you continue to pursue them is going to be so much higher and so much better than the temporary high that you got from eating a donut that one time or from having a few drinks on the weekend with your friends. I promise you, it won't be easy, but you will feel stronger and better by sticking to those goals and achieving them. Anyways, people, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit the like button if you're on Facebook, or hit the up button, the thumbs up button on YouTube. And if you have any stories or examples of ways that you have, built up your own grit or your tolerance for avoiding unhealthy habits, please leave those down in the description section below. You never know who you might inspire down there. And until next time, peace.